The past 1 decade showed clearly that places where people's houses and other assets were demolished, we lost a lot of lives. And I want to cite a case, that of, for example, the Pape village, where you are not sure what the policies are. And I knew during the time of El-Rufai, there was a clear statement that there are these satellite towns that are approved. So I want to ask or find out from you, what do you think can be done differently to take care of this kind of problems where people really want to have their houses and yet they are not even sure of what the policy is? Then secondly, the issue of fake certificates. A number of people have fallen victims to this situation where you have a land transaction with a so-called certified CFO, and yet you end up seeing maybe 3-4 people fighting over the same land. What will you be bringing differently this time around so that these kind of problems can be averted? Thank you.
Senator Danjumala.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My distinguished colleagues, my name is Danjumala Shitiman Kogoro, representing Southern Kaduna of Kaduna State. Based on your records here, it shows to me that you've served and worked with the FCT administration. And I understand you were one of the best officers we've ever had. I noticed, time without memory, many people were given double allocation. And many ministers have come and gone, trying to solve those problems. But each day is increasing. What do you think can you do if you are given that opportunity to serve as a minister of FCT? 2, there are long service awards that was supposed to be given to all members of staff that serve under FCT organization. If that opportunity is given to you, the long service award was not given, what can you do to redeem that promise by the organization? Thank you.
Senator Abdurrahman Abubakar.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Abdurrahman Abubakar, representing Kogi East. Thank you, Mr. Nominee. Congratulations for the nomination. I have 1 or 2 very short questions. Number 1, taking into account that the current government, the APC government, has come in to correct some ills and bring about changes, and realizing the fact that the story at the FCT, the land administration, has not been a very palatable one, what policies will you put in place to ensure that the change starts to filter from the top to the bottom at the FCT, assuming that you have made minister in charge of that assignment? 2, one can also see that even though you are not a mine engineer, you might be posted to Ministry of Mines, Solid Minerals. Thank you. If, assuming that you are there, I come from a place that is blessed with coal, a lot of coal. And this coal is on the surface. And this was the coal that was used during the Civil War years of this country. So what will you do to encourage and to remind and to ensure that policies are put in place that these God-given assets are fully utilized for the benefit of this country? For instance, we need diversification in the area of energy, into coal burning instead of gas burning. So what policies will you put in place, and what will you do, to assist the indigenes of this area, whose farmland has been ravaged? Thank you, Mr. President, for the opportunity.
Ibrahim, take the questions.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. The question from Honorable Distinguished Senator Rasaki, asking for an explanation on the land allocation policy. Well, if we go down memory lane, land allocation in the FCT or any other place in Nigeria is a function of the Land Use Act of 1978. And this act vests land in the states or 36 states of the Federation and the state governors. They have the powers to hold in trust and to allocate and issue certificate of occupancy evidencing any grant. In the case of the FCT Act of 1976 vests the entire 8,000 square kilometers of the FCT landmass in the government of the Federation. And that means the President has the powers to issue or allocate as he deems fit. These powers, he has delegated them to the Minister of FCT by virtue of Section 18 of the same Act. Therefore, the Minister of FCT as a delegate is the person responsible legally to issue titles to land. Now, as regard land allocation policy, I'm aware that as far back as 1980, when the first Land Use Allocation Committee was set up in this FCT, there was a policy that was approved by the President in Council then, that allocation should be based on certain criteria. One of them should be for national integration. In other words, all states of the Federation, at that time there were, I think, 19 or 21, I think, were supposed to be given equally. There are certain proportion, and then the means, ability to develop is one of the criteria. Along the line, as the population of this FCT keeps changing, pressures begin to build on land. And therefore, the problems of allocations started coming up. Then issues of resettlement. At the beginning, the Act indicated that the entire population of the FCT will be resettled outside the FCT at government expenses. That was the policy statement made by General Murtala in 1976. But before the policy even took off, there was a policy change in 1978. Then General Obasanjo. This policy change came as a result of the enumeration that was carried out by Senator Eddie Rupai at that time. Sorry, I'm mixing it up. Before that time, it was assumed that the population of the FCT will not be more than 50,000 people, but a careful enumeration revealed that there were more than 300,000 people. And the government then decided that they could not be able to carry complete resettlement because the cost would have been astronomical. Therefore, there was a partial change in which people living within the FCT were allowed to remain and may not be compelled to be resettled. This set up the problem of indigenous and non-indigenous syndrome as it is today. So, allocation is done by the minister and by the Land Use Allocation Committee after receiving the report from them. But most of the time, you will discover that the Land Use Allocation Committee may not be able to or are not allowed to function at appropriate times. So that's why you have problems here and there about allocation. On the issue of double allocation. Double allocation is a situation where one plot is given to more than one individual or corporate organization. And this came about Like I said, because of pressure on land, that's one. Two,